Respect isn't given, it's earned and protected by the boundaries you set. Too many men try to gain respect by over-explaining, over-giving, or tolerating bad behavior. But the truth is, the more you chase respect, the less you get. In this video, we'll break down 5 boundaries that make women respect you more. These boundaries aren't about playing games or being cold. They're rooted in ancient Stoic wisdom. The Stoics believed that real strength comes from within, and that dignity is maintained by how well you control yourself, not others. These are the standards that silently command respect, without you ever needing to raise your voice. If you're tired of feeling overlooked or disrespected, and you're ready to show up with calm power and self-respect, this is where it begins. Make sure to subscribe for more Stoic insights and strategies that help you lead your life and relationships with strength, purpose, and peace. Number 1. Never reward disrespect. Disrespect isn't just a fleeting moment or a mistake. It's a reflection of how much you value yourself. How you handle disrespect speaks volumes about your own self-worth and your boundaries. It can come in many forms. An offhand comment that cuts deep, a dismissive glance ignoring your presence or your input, or simply belittling you in front of others. But regardless of the form it takes, disrespect is always a test. The question is, how do you respond? In a world where many men are conditioned to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, and to keep the peace at all costs, the tendency is often to absorb or overlook the disrespect. When we allow ourselves to be the target of disrespectful behavior, we may try to shrug it off or laugh it off in hopes of smoothing things over. But deep down, we know something is off. The problem with this approach is that it teaches others that it's acceptable to treat you poorly. It's an unspoken message. I'll tolerate being disrespected because I want you to like me, or I don't want to deal with the discomfort of confrontation. This is where Stoic philosophy offers powerful insight. The Stoics believed in controlling what is within our power and rejecting what isn't. What is within our power? Our response to the actions of others. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In other words, when someone disrespects you, your response should not be to mirror their behavior or to let their negativity drag you down. Instead, you must rise above it. Stoicism teaches that your emotions, if uncontrolled, are dangerous. They can make you react impulsively, driven by pride or fear, and in doing so, you may compromise your integrity. When you react emotionally to disrespect, whether it's anger, frustration, or desperation, you give the disrespecting party even more power over you. Instead, the Stoics urge you to respond with calmness and clarity. When disrespect occurs, respond without emotion, but with unwavering resolve. That behavior is not acceptable, and I will not tolerate it. This doesn't mean you have to confront every slight with a verbal explosion or harsh words. On the contrary, the Stoic approach is to deal with the situation calmly, decisively, and with dignity. You don't need to shout, argue, or become defensive. Instead, you make it clear, through your words or actions, that you won't engage in a relationship, conversation, or interaction where disrespect is present. You do this with integrity and without apology. And if the disrespect continues, you take the ultimate step that only the man who truly respects himself can take. You walk away. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It's a demonstration of strength. It is the embodiment of the Stoic principle that we must remain in control of ourselves and our environment. If the situation does not align with your values, leave. By doing so, you send a powerful message not just to the person disrespecting you, but to yourself. I value my peace, my time, and my self-respect more than I value the approval of anyone willing to treat me this way. This act of walking away, while difficult, is rooted in self-respect. The Stoics understood that one of the most crucial aspects of maintaining inner peace and emotional stability is the ability to detach from situations and people that bring chaos or disrespect. When you remove yourself from disrespect, you're not just avoiding conflict, you're reinforcing a boundary that is non-negotiable. The Stoics were adamant that a man should be indifferent to external circumstances, especially those he cannot control. Disrespect is one of those external things. Your inner peace, however, is entirely in your hands, and that's exactly why you must protect it. As you begin to embody this boundary, never rewarding disrespect, you'll notice a shift. People will start to treat you differently, not because you demand it, but because you no longer accept anything less. They'll begin to respect you, not because you've asked for it, but because you've made it clear that you are a man who demands respect by your actions, not your words. This is not about arrogance, it's about integrity. It's about being someone who respects himself enough not to settle for less than he deserves. What you tolerate, you empower. If you tolerate disrespect, you empower those who disrespect you. But when you stop tolerating it, you take back your power. And in the end, that's the most important thing a man can do, not just for his relationships, but for his own peace of mind. Remember the Stoic wisdom. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Your response to disrespect is a measure of your inner strength. When you stop rewarding disrespect, you not only stop enabling bad behavior, you create a space where mutual respect can thrive, and in that space you can move forward with pride, knowing that you've chosen your peace over their drama, your dignity over their disrespect. Number 2, guard your peace. In a world that constantly pulls you in 1,000 directions, guarding your peace is one of the most powerful boundaries you can establish. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the deliberate creation of an environment where you control your mental and emotional state. It's the calm in the chaos. And just like the Stoics who practiced tranquility amidst the storms of life, you must cultivate peace by protecting it at all costs. We live in a world filled with distractions, noise, and emotional chaos. People will try to pull you into their dramas, make you part of their stress, or bait you into unnecessary conflicts. Some will demand your attention, others will push your buttons, and many will try to manipulate your emotions. But to live with peace, you must decide that your emotional well-being is non-negotiable. The Stoics believed that inner peace is not something given to you by the world around you. It's something you create from within. Marcus Aurelius said, "He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe." This means that peace isn't found in avoiding external chaos, but in how you manage your internal response to it. You cannot control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. When you choose to guard your peace, you are not allowing external forces to dictate your emotional state. This means being deliberate about who you spend your time with, what you consume mentally and emotionally, and where you invest your energy. If someone or something is causing you undue stress, anxiety, or negativity, learn to step away. This doesn't mean running from conflict or living in a bubble. It means making a conscious choice to protect your peace, even if that means saying no to people or situations that drain you. The Stoics understood that life would bring inevitable challenges and difficulties, but they also knew that our responses were always within our control. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In practice, this means that your peace is a choice. You don't have to engage with every person who tries to stir up drama. You don't have to be involved in every conflict, and you certainly don't need to entertain every emotional trigger that comes your way. When you choose to disengage from chaos, you're not only protecting your peace, you're also asserting a powerful boundary that says, "My energy and emotional well-being are sacred, and I choose how to invest them." But how do you guard your peace without becoming disconnected, cold, or distant? The key is balance. It's about being present in your relationships without sacrificing your inner tranquility. It's about knowing when to set healthy boundaries, when to step away, and when to say no. By doing so, you create an emotional buffer that allows you to stay grounded, no matter the external circumstances. The ability to guard your peace doesn't just bring you serenity, it attracts respect. People may test your boundaries, push your buttons, or try to drag you into their world of stress, but when you remain calm, centered, and unmoved by their chaos, they begin to respect the quiet strength you embody. It's an unspoken power, because those who guard their peace are rare. Most people are reactive, responding to every emotional trigger. But a man who stays calm in the storm, he's in control. To guard your peace is to become emotionally unavailable to drama, negativity, and mind games. It doesn't mean you're avoiding responsibility or walking away from important conversations. It means you're choosing where to direct your emotional energy. You don't let external events dictate how you feel. Instead, you remain grounded in your own values and priorities. The true measure of peace is not whether you can avoid conflict, but whether you can maintain your composure when everything around you is chaotic. And when you can do that, you've not only guarded your peace, you've set a boundary that demands respect. Because peace is power. It's the foundation from which all strength flows. Without peace, your mind is scattered, your emotions are unstable, and your ability to make clear decisions is compromised. But when you protect your peace, you protect your power. In this sense, guarding your peace is not just a personal act, it's a social one. By setting this boundary, you create a space for healthier, more respectful relationships. People will begin to see you as someone who values themselves enough to say, "I won't tolerate this negativity." And that, more than anything else, commands respect. Number 3, don't share too much. The temptation to overshare is strong in today's world, especially in relationships. We live in an era where vulnerability is celebrated, and the idea of being open is often equated with emotional intimacy. But there's a line between being open and overexposing yourself. Sharing too much too soon can have unintended consequences, especially when it comes to earning respect. It creates a sense of dependence and emotional instability, which, in turn, undermines your power and allure. In relationships, there is power in mystery, in maintaining an air of curiosity. Just as a good story has twists and turns, so should your presence. When you reveal everything about yourself too early, you rob others of the chance to learn about you. You make yourself predictable and, in many ways, boring. The Stoics understood that the most valuable people were not the ones who revealed every detail of their inner lives, but those who held something back, who moved with purpose and intent. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoics, practiced internal discretion in how he approached the world. He said, "Keep yourself simple, good, pure, unpretentious, a friend of justice, God-fearing, kind, full of affection, strong for your proper work." He didn't feel the need to share every thought, every feeling, or every weakness. He knew that true power is in self-restraint, in knowing when and how much to reveal, and when to keep certain parts of yourself hidden. Your inner life is your sanctuary. Revealing it too soon gives others access to your most vulnerable places without earning that trust. When you share too much about yourself, especially too soon, you essentially give up your mystery. You make yourself vulnerable in ways that can be taken advantage of, particularly if the other person hasn't earned that access yet. Early oversharing often creates an imbalance. You become emotionally invested while the other person may not feel the same level of attachment. This isn't to say that you should play games or manipulate someone emotionally, but if you give away all of your cards at once, there's nothing left to intrigue or fascinate. Stoicism teaches us that emotional self-sufficiency is vital. We are not defined by the opinions or judgments of others, and therefore, our inner world should not be put on display for anyone to scrutinize. You control the narrative of your life by sharing pieces of it on your terms. Your emotions, desires, fears, and insecurities are part of your internal domain. When you withhold certain aspects of yourself, when you reveal only what is necessary or appropriate, you become a man of mystery and dignity, not one desperate for validation or emotional attention. But don't mistake this for shutting people completely. Vulnerability can be valuable, but it has to be earned. True intimacy is built over time, layer by layer. The Stoics believed that the most important relationships are those founded on mutual respect, patience, and understanding. This doesn't happen overnight. If you reveal your entire self too soon, the other person might not have the emotional space or depth to appreciate it, and it can lead to feelings of disconnect or misunderstanding. The idea of maintaining mystery isn't about being deceitful or playing mind games. It's about maintaining balance. By revealing yourself slowly, intentionally, you create a sense of curiosity and desire. Your value comes from being self-contained, from not needing to fill the silence with constant disclosures or confessions. You allow others to ask questions, to be curious, and to respect the process of discovery. This method gives the relationship time to mature and deepen without the pressure of overexposure. As you maintain your boundaries and withhold unnecessary information, you'll find that you become more emotionally independent. Your self-worth won't depend on someone's reaction to your personal life. Instead, you will stand as a man of depth, of mystery, and of strength. And this is what commands respect. When you stop seeking validation through excessive sharing, you start to project a sense of self-assurance that others find attractive and admirable. In practical terms, don't overshare your emotions, your life history, or your desires too early in a relationship. Let the relationship unfold naturally, giving both parties the space to grow and build trust. Share only what is needed in the moment and hold back the deeper layers until the time is right. This ensures that you remain in control of your narrative, not giving away pieces of yourself before they're truly earned. By not oversharing, you also protect yourself. You avoid situations where someone might use your vulnerabilities against you. Vulnerability should never feel like a weakness. When done correctly, vulnerability is a strength, but only when you choose when and how to reveal it. The power lies in having control over your emotions, knowing when to share and when to keep certain things to yourself. The man who does this commands respect, not only because he knows his worth, but because he knows the value of preserving his inner world. Number 4, no emotional reactivity. In life, emotions can be incredibly powerful, so powerful that they often drive us to act before we have time to think. When triggered, emotions like anger, frustration, or anxiety can cloud our judgment and lead us to react impulsively, often making situations worse rather than better. This is why no emotional reactivity is one of the most important boundaries you can set, both for your own peace of mind and for the respect you demand from others. The Stoics were masters at emotional self-control. They understood that while emotions are a natural part of being human, our responses to those emotions are what truly define us. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself that he must remain calm, even in the face of adversity. How much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, to make it just and pure. What Marcus is teaching us here is that our actions, not our emotions, determine our character. When you allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you give up control over yourself. You allow the external world, other people, situations, even random events to control how you feel and react. This makes you vulnerable to manipulation, misunderstanding, and frustration. A man who is constantly reacting to everything around him is not in control. His mind is a slave to his feelings, not a master of them. Instead, a Stoic remains unmoved by external circumstances. He doesn't allow the behavior of others to shake him. If someone insults him, he doesn't feel the need to defend his honor. If someone pushes his buttons, he doesn't give in to anger or frustration. Instead, he observes the situation with clarity, without judgment, and responds with calm deliberation. As Epictetus wisely stated, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is not to say that emotions are wrong or should be suppressed. The Stoics did not advocate for denying your feelings. They believed in understanding and mastering them. The goal is not to be indifferent, but to be equanimous, to hold your emotional balance even in difficult or provoking situations. When you can do this, you take control of your environment, rather than letting it control you. In practical terms, no emotional reactivity means taking a step back before you act. It means choosing to respond with thoughtfulness rather than reacting impulsively. For example, if someone insults you or tries to provoke a confrontation, instead of immediately retaliating, you pause. You take a deep breath. You give yourself space to process the situation and decide on the most appropriate response. The key is to act from a place of intent, not impulse. This approach doesn't just keep you composed in tense situations. It also signals to others that you are a man who is in control of himself. People will begin to respect you for this emotional stability. They will recognize that you don't take the bait when they try to provoke you. This, in itself, is a powerful signal. It shows that you are confident enough to let things go when they don't matter, and wise enough to engage only when necessary. Moreover, no emotional reactivity allows you to be more strategic in your decisions. When you don't let your emotions control you, you can think clearly and make better choices. You'll find that your life becomes more purposeful and deliberate, rather than being subject to the whims of your feelings in the moment. This makes you more reliable, more stable, and ultimately more attractive. Because a man who has emotional mastery is a man who can handle the complexities of life without being thrown off course by every storm. This boundary is crucial in relationships. 2. If you react emotionally to every small issue, whether it's a criticism, a misunderstanding, or a minor disagreement, you will create an environment of tension and unpredictability. People will never know what to expect from you. One moment, you might be calm. The next moment, you're angry. But a man who remains consistent in his emotional state, who doesn't let every small irritant disturb his peace, fosters security and trust in those around him. The key to this boundary is remembering that you are in charge of how you respond to the world. It doesn't matter what someone says or does, you can always choose how to react. When you master this, you gain power over yourself and your environment. Your peace, your decisions, and your relationships all become stronger because you're no longer subject to the emotional fluctuations of others. Emotional reactivity is a form of weakness, and it's a boundary you must set for yourself. When you are constantly reactive, you live at the mercy of your emotions. But when you learn to respond with deliberation, you become stronger, more grounded, and more in control of your life. And this is exactly how you earn respect from yourself and from others. Number 5, always be willing to walk away. The final and perhaps most powerful boundary you can establish is the willingness to walk away. It might sound harsh, but it is one of the most essential tools for protecting your peace, preserving your dignity, and commanding respect. The willingness to walk away doesn't mean you do so out of anger or frustration. It's not a threat. It's a quiet, unshakable stance that communicates your commitment to your own standards, values, and well-being. In Stoic philosophy, this concept aligns closely with the idea of self-reliance. A Stoic understands that they do not need to tolerate situations or relationships that compromise their integrity or peace. Marcus Aurelius spoke of this when he wrote, "A man who has committed to virtue will not remain in places where he cannot practice it." In other words, if a situation, whether personal, professional, or romantic, becomes untenable or harmful, a Stoic knows that leaving is a necessary act of self-preservation. The reason this boundary is so vital is that life is full of people, situations, and environments that can drag you down. Some will undermine your values, manipulate your emotions, or treat you with disrespect. If you refuse to walk away from these situations, you're telling the world that your standards are negotiable. You are allowing people to dictate your worth, and by doing so, you forfeit your own power. On the other hand, when you make it clear that you are willing to walk away from anything that doesn't align with your values or respect, you establish yourself as someone who won't settle for less. You become a man of principle, a man whose standards are unshakable. This isn't about being stubborn or walking away from minor issues. It's about setting boundaries that protect your emotional and mental health, your goals, and your sense of self-worth. The Stoics understood the power of non-attachment. They weren't bound to external outcomes or the behavior of others. They knew that everything in life is temporary, and that the only thing you truly control is yourself. Epictetus, in his teachings, made it clear that when you are attached to things outside of your control, whether that's people, possessions, or situations, you open yourself to suffering. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In this case, choosing to walk away from situations that no longer serve you is a conscious decision to regain control over your life. But walking away isn't easy. It often involves the fear of starting over, the fear of loss, or the fear of judgment from others. It takes courage to leave behind something or someone that you've invested time or emotion into, especially when the situation feels comfortable or familiar. But the Stoics remind us that comfort is the enemy of growth. True strength and self-respect come from knowing your worth and being willing to walk away from anything that diminishes it, no matter how difficult it may be. When you are willing to walk away, you communicate a powerful message. I am not afraid to leave what doesn't serve me because I trust that something better awaits. This mindset frees you from the fear of loss. You no longer feel bound to toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, or situations that drain you. You understand that the fear of starting over is far less important than the fear of remaining in a place where you are not respected, appreciated, or aligned with your values. One of the most profound aspects of this boundary is that walking away is often the ultimate display of strength. When you can calmly remove yourself from a situation that compromises your well-being, you show that you are not desperate, that your peace and self-respect are more important than holding on to anything that doesn't support your growth. This strength radiates outward and demands respect from others. In relationships, this means being willing to walk away from anyone who doesn't value you, doesn't treat you well, or doesn't contribute positively to your life. If someone plays games with your emotions, disrespects your boundaries, or undermines your self-worth, you should be ready to walk away. This doesn't mean walking away at the first sign of difficulty, but it means recognizing when a relationship is no longer healthy, respectful, or aligned with your values, and choosing to leave it behind. In practical terms, always be willing to walk away from situations that compromise your mental and emotional health. This applies not only to romantic relationships, but to friendships, business dealings, and even personal habits. If something is no longer serving your highest good, don't be afraid to cut ties and walk away. Doing so shows that you value yourself enough to not tolerate anything less than what you deserve. To walk away is to embrace freedom. It is the freedom to choose your path, to choose your peace, and to choose your relationships. And in doing so, you command the highest level of respect. People will recognize that you are someone who will not settle for anything that undermines your worth. They will see you as a person of integrity, strength, and unshakable standards. This is the essence of self-respect, and it's the ultimate boundary that will ensure others treat you with the respect you deserve. So those are the 5 boundaries that not only help you build more respect, but also empower you to live life on your own terms. Remember, it's not about being harsh or difficult. It's about setting standards that protect your peace, your worth, and your emotional well-being. By never rewarding disrespect, guarding your peace, maintaining mystery, controlling your emotional reactivity, and always being willing to walk away, you elevate yourself to a level where people can't help but respect you. The Stoic principles behind these boundaries teach us that true power comes from within. When you are in control of your reactions, your emotions, and your decisions, you become unshakable. And that's what commands respect from others. If you found these boundaries helpful, be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I'll be sharing more insights on how to live with strength, confidence, and purpose. Share your thoughts in the comments. What boundaries do you set in your own life? Let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and remember, respect starts with you.